We need more time. Okay, I'd like to ask the candidates to look at the sheet that the sponsor filled out on who you are becoming. And I want you just to take a moment to think about something. As you look at that sheet, are you happy with or content with the description of you as the person you are becoming? Is that the person you want to become? If you say yes, then I want to encourage you to continue to grow in the direction you're growing. If you say no, what do you need to become the person you want to be? I love this exercise, and I've been doing it over a number of years because it's perfect in preparing for the sacrament of confirmation. This is the most active preparation you will have in any of the sacraments of initiation. You freely get to choose, candidates, the kind of faith you want and how much you want to own your own faith. And you're going to do a public testimony of that on the night of your confirmation. So I think it's good for that, but what I've discovered is that when I ask these kinds of questions about the kind of person you want to be or become, I find out that most people want to be able to take care of other people. They want to be a person who does the right things. And in general, they want to be a person that hopefully makes the world a better place. But because I believe in the world we live in today, which is so full of choices, sometimes it gets really hard to make the right decisions. To be the person we want to be and the person God created us to be. Because the trappings of everyday life get in the way. Just think about this. There is so much good to be found in this world, yet I find people most of the time are either cynical right now or angry. And I have a tough time with that because God created the world and everything in it. And I have to tell you this too, God is Italian. Now the reason I know that, and I know some of you are wondering how this little fat bald-headed guy can say that. See, growing up I had the best of both worlds. I had an Italian father and a Jewish mother. So I got good Catholic guilt and Jewish neuroses all tied into one. But I was raised by my Italian grandmother. She was 4 feet 10 inches tall. She weighed 265 pounds. She looked like a pair of inverted bell bottoms. And every morning, when I was little, we would make homemade Italian bread. And when that bread came out of the oven, it sounded just like God in the book of Genesis. She'd pull that bread out and she'd say, "It's good!" That's what God said in everything He created. If you think, I'm not making that up, read the first chapter of the book of Genesis. Everything is connected, everything belongs, and everything is good. Now that's not what the media is telling us. Because that doesn't sell newspapers and magazines. That doesn't make the news at 11 o'clock. But we live in a world that's so full of these choices. And not only is the world good, but I believe there's so much noise and clutter that's produced by all these people trying to get us to buy something, to follow a certain way, to look a certain way, that makes it really difficult for us to make good choices. Especially if we're created to be what I believe is to live fully and to be happy. And how do we do that? How do we live as God intended us to live to become what God created us to be? Well, part of this preparation, what makes it so awesome, is hopefully, young people, you're getting in touch with your goodness and your gifts. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go along. But one of the things I hope you have done is set aside time through this whole preparation from now to February to meet at least twice a month with your sponsor. because you've said to this person, I want you to walk with me through this faith journey because you're a living, breathing, concrete example of what a Catholic Christian believer looks like. And I want you to be a part of my life. Now, I'm going to give you your first service opportunity, candidates, if you haven't done this yet, is I want you to take your sponsors out to lunch to the restaurant of their choice and you buy. All the sponsors are going, I love this little fat guy. Now, why am I asking you to do that? Because what I want you to do, candidates, is tell that sponsor why you chose them. You freely chose them. What do you see in them that is so good and awesome that you want a part of that? What is it about them that draws you to them? Now, it wouldn't be fair if I didn't ask the sponsors to do something. Sponsors, I'd like you to tell the candidates why you love being Catholic. Now, you might say, I don't know, it runs in the family. I don't know. But they need to know that. One of the greatest things these candidates come up with at this time in their life is that three-letter word, why. I raised, my wife and I together, she did most of it, we raised 7 kids. Every one of them asked that question. And I never once said, go to your mother. Because when they come to me and say, why do we go to church on Sunday? It's dull, boring, stupid. I know, I'm poor, and I don't like it. I'd say, you don't have to go to church on Sunday. The day you have nothing to thank God for, ask forgiveness of, or forgive someone. They don't look at me with that lie, well, yeah, little fat God will give. But that's who God is in our lives. But we don't know that unless we start talking about that. So I want you, please, sponsor, start with by saying, why you? Why Catholic? What do you love about this church? We get enough about what we don't like. But there's a reason we're here. And that reason is God, the Spirit, and His Son. Now, the other thing I want you to be able to do, sponsors, is every couple of weeks, every 8 weeks, 6, 8 weeks, just get together and say, what's going on? How's formation going? What are you learning? What aren't you learning? What would you like to know about? And share your own story. One of the things that I find sponsors love to tell them about your confirmation preparation. How many were in the 6th grade when they were confirmed? Adults? Nobody. How many were in high school? Only a few. How many were in 2nd grade? Yes. They want to know why. How many were slapped? Yes, ma'am, you're not alone. There's 2 of us. I was in the 6th grade when I was confirmed. You can tell by my size where I stood in line. I was the first one up. My candidate, I walked up, and back then we had to kneel in front of the cardinal. And my sponsor stood behind me, and the cardinal said, be sealed with the gift of the Holy Spirit. And he made the sign of the cross over me, and then he slapped me and knocked me right off the kneeler. True story. I fell down. I got up, I had this big smile on my face, I'm walking back to my pew, and the nun grabs my arm and she said, what are you laughing about? I said, I just got filled by the Holy Spirit. She hit me again. I thought at that point, this is tough. This is a tough faith. But why did they do that, Rachel? They don't do that anymore. Kids want to know, it's tough being a Catholic in the world today. But you need to start, that's how faith is passed on. The Jewish part of me, my mother taught very well. She said, Al, you got to learn to be a good Catholic, you got to learn to be a good Jew. Because our God was a Jew. And what I learned about Jesus the most, and love about him the most, was he knew who he was and to whom he belonged. And he acted exactly like that. A bold, courageous man of faith. And see, this is what we need if we're going to pass it on, is to tell the story, your story. Now, that being said, how do we get this holy, happy, healthy life that I keep talking about, this abundant life that Jesus talked about? Well, if we're going to do that, I think we got to be, number one, aware people. What do I mean by that? I mean that we got to be aware and responsive of God's presence in everything we do and everything we are and everything we say. In the Jesuit Spiritual Center where I work and the retreats, we talk about finding God in all things. In the ordinariness of our lives. In the mundane. So how does that happen? How do we begin to find that God's presence in our lives and the lives of others? Well, one of the questions I'm going to ask candidates to think about on a scale of 1 to 10, give me 10 is high, 1 is low, how would you rate your prayer life? How are you and the Lord getting along these days? Are you just trying to fit God in, or is he or she someone that's really important in your life? And when I talk about prayer, I am not talking about just the wonderful rote prayers, Our Father's, Hail Marys, Glory Be, Rosary. Those are great. But what God says to you is, hey, I want to know how you're doing. You say, what do you mean how I'm doing? I want to know. But you're God, you should know. Yeah, but I want to hear it from you. Give you an example of what I mean by prayer in God's presence. Did you ever think when you get out of bed in the morning, before your feet hit the floor, you just stop and say thank you for another day? I didn't earn it, didn't deserve it. It's the first day of the rest of my life, and it's a new adventure. Just thank you. That is prayer. Or, hey, Lord, I want to thank you from the moment I got up to lunch. Boy, there were some good things there. I just want to say thank you for them. Didn't earn them, didn't deserve them. Oh, by the way, there's times where I kind of screwed up too. And I'm sorry. That's prayer. Why? It's an intimate conversation between two friends. Especially a God who created us in his image and said, I created you out of love for love.